What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about franchises. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the question, is it worth it to buy into a water damage franchise or should you go alone? What franchises are good? What franchises are bad? What are the reasons why you would want to buy into a franchise? Why should you not buy into a franchise? Basically, there's a lot of information out there and there's a lot of misinformation out there. I can tell you this, I've been doing this for 15 years as a restoration contractor. I have experience in this world. I've also been coaching restoration contractors for the past 7 years, both independents and guys in the franchise. I have unique experience and I'm gonna break it down for you all in this video today. So basically, if you own a restoration company or you're thinking about getting into one and you're wondering, should I go independent? Should I buy into a franchise? Here's the deal. You don't wanna miss this video. Let's go. All right, guys, so as we get started, go and do me a favor, hit the like and the subscribe button. Do me a favor, drop a comment down below and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. All right, so here's how we're gonna kind of break down this video, okay? We're gonna cover a handful of things, but one of the sections we'll talk about is what are some basic myths surrounding franchising? There's a lot of stuff out there. I wanna go through and debunk a handful of those, so we'll talk about some of the myths. A little bit later in the video, we'll spend a little time talking about pros, like what are the good reasons to buy into a franchise? There are good and there are bad. I'm gonna make sure that you hear an honest opinion of the reasons why you might want to buy into a franchise. And then, of course, a little bit later, I'll even go with some of the negatives or some of the cons for buying into the franchise. Nothing's perfect, guys. All right, so here's myth number one regarding franchises, that they're hard to get into and they're expensive. Like, you've got to be rich and it's really hard to find a market to buy into a franchise. I would say this is the first myth, and here's the reason why. Number one, you do have to have some money to get into the franchise. There is a franchise fee, but oftentimes they're willing to negotiate that fee down or maybe even waive it or finance it out for you. A lot of times these franchises will offer favorable financing terms so you can just kind of borrow your way into the franchise territory, okay? They want to make it as easy as they can for you to get into the territory. They don't want to be extremely difficult. Now, they want to make sure that you're qualified so you don't go out of business as soon as you get in there, because that's not helping to many. But basically, if they think that they can craft the terms to get you in, get you standing up, and get you making money, or when you make money, they make money, okay? So, but here's the biggest myth. Everybody thinks, oh, it's gonna take 6 figures or 200 grand, and that's simply not true. A lot of these guys can get in with $40,000 or $50,000 and you can finance your way on in. It doesn't always take a ton of cash to get in. Conversely, I would tell you that franchises are actually not hard to get into, but pretty easy to get into, okay? If anything, franchises are easy to get into and hard to get out of, okay? But the big myth is this, that it's hard to get in, because that's not necessarily true, okay? They're gonna be very favorable and they're gonna offer you whatever they can to get you in. So, as a matter of fact, if you wanna get into a franchise, it might be easier than you think. Next myth, myth number two when it comes to franchising. One of the reasons why people buy into franchises is like, okay, finally, I'm gonna get the support. I'm gonna be part of this thing. And when I buy into this franchise, I'm gonna get the support, I'm gonna get the knowledge, and it's gonna be a shortcut path to success. And I'm just going to tell you that is simply not true. While you do get support with a franchise, it's not always the support that people think they want or need, okay? So yes, they do a really great job in giving you all of the branding, all of the marketing, all of that, right? The brand awareness, it comes with that. But I got news for you. It's really expensive to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in royalties just for a really nice branding package and a logo package you could probably got for like $10,000, okay? Franchises, they have this nice big idea that it's a business in a box, and in many cases it is. But what I see is this. One area where most people struggle the most, okay, same every time. It's getting consistent water damage jobs coming to the door. And that's going to be sales and that's going to be marketing. Okay. And franchises, to be quite honest with you, they're not great at sales and marketing. That's just what it is. A lot of times they'll have an edge on some pay-per-call stuff or some internet stuff because they'll go buy or pay for one agency and they'll run AdWords or run Google LSA or whatever for their entire franchise. Like, that's helpful. They may have like a call center. That's pretty helpful. I don't know of any franchises that I've seen out there that are dominant with sales and marketing. If you're thinking that you can buy into a franchise and that's going to equate into revenue, that is simply not true. They do offer you good support in terms of operations, okay? And we'll get into more of that in some points in a minute, but like, sales and marketing, that's where most people need the support. And the myth is you do not get that out of a franchise. All right, so here's myth number three when it comes to joining a franchise. You might think that, hey, if I join this franchise, the jobs are just gonna fall in the door and I'm going to be able to sign all these jobs because I have a big brand. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that is a myth, and here's the reason why. Yes, there is a brand, but many people that are in water damage restoration or that need water damage restoration services, they don't know of the company that they're going to hire the day that they hire them. Let me say that again. Most people that need water damage restoration services, they can't list off a bunch of restoration contractors. They were never thinking about it. They weren't thinking about a water damage yesterday. They weren't thinking about it this morning. So they're not well versed in that. Does that make sense? So the branding that might come about, it might have to do with insurance agents or adjusters. They're brand aware and familiar, but that does not necessarily mean that you're going to land a job. And it certainly doesn't mean that when you get in front of the house and you're standing in front of Miss Jones and you're a franchise, she doesn't know what that means, okay? Like maybe they've heard of ServPro, maybe they've heard of Service Master, but everybody else probably not. Swear to God, I'm just telling you, I'm being honest with you. They don't know. Most people think, hey, if I'm in a franchise, sales is going to be easier because I have this big brand. And I'm telling you, that is simply not true. Now, what is true is that you will have a brand driving down the road. You don't have to pay for the logo. Everything is homogenous, if that's the right word to use. Everything is homogenous in terms of like your font, your logo, everything looks nice, tight, and clean, but that does not equate into sales necessarily. Even if you are a franchise, there's going to be other competing franchises in your market. If you're with ServPro, you're going to compete with Service Master. If you're Paul Davis, you're going to compete with any one of these other guys. There's a lot of them out there, and most of them nobody's ever heard of. The same way that your brand may be okay, somebody's brand is going to be equally good or better than yours. Here's the deal. You're going to pay a bunch of money to think you're going to land sales, and that's not going to happen. Now, don't worry. I'm going to get into some good stuff for franchises in a minute, but I want to debunk some of these myths first. So here's another one. One myth is we're going to make more money because we're part of a franchise. And that is not true either, okay? And I don't know how many people think they're going to make more money with a franchise or not. It would be logical. You think you would, but that's simply not true. While some of the franchises may generate decent revenue, 7 figures, usually you've got a lot of royalties you're going to be paying out, okay? A lot of these guys will have anywhere from 3 to 10% ongoing royalties. So if you make $1 million, you're going to pay anywhere from 3% to 10%, $100,000, even up to that, every single year in royalties. That's a lot of money 5-10 years down the road, okay? So that's going to bite into your profit margin. Then you have to spend so much money on marketing through their channels, which that's fine. I'm not saying don't spend money on marketing, but I'm just telling you that when you're paying somebody else those profits, that's going to be lower profit margins coming back to you. I was checking on some of these things, like even a large ServPro franchise, this is off of their numbers. They said around 15, maybe 20% profit margin. Dude, that is no money, bro. That is no money. If you're making $1 million, okay, $1 million revenue, and one study I saw said 1.2 million. I didn't come up with it, they did, but that's probably somewhere about right. So if the average ServPro is 1 to 1.2 million, if you're making 10, 15%, you might be making $150,000, $180,000 return to owner on that money. Guys, I got news for you. There are employees of companies that make 180 grand. You ain't got to own a company to make 180 grand. Buying into a franchise does not make you a whole bunch of money, all right? It does not make you a whole bunch of money. Okay, so now I've been ragging on some franchises for a minute. Let's talk about some pros. What are some benefits of joining and buying into a franchise? And this is probably the biggest one that I see. Number one is commercial work. Commercial jobs. A lot of these guys, Service Master, ServPro, these guys, a lot of the really successful ones do really well with commercial work, okay? And this is probably where I think they stand out the most. Number one, you can have a regional contract. One big ServPro, one big Service Master, land a contract with the Hilton Hotels in the northeast quadrant of South Dakota, whatever the thing might be, right? And they're going to use this franchise. And why do they use one franchise? Because they know that franchise can pool resources to tackle larger projects. So that's a really big benefit. If you're an independent, it's much harder for you to pool resources than a commercial one can, okay? There's a guy, I can't think of his name right now. He runs basically the biggest Service Master franchises in Wisconsin. And I don't know if he's got 13 of these guys, but nonetheless, that's what they do. They do a ton of commercial work and they do really, really well with it, okay? Most independents don't have that bandwidth. They don't have that ability. If you're gonna get in the commercial game, you're in the commercial game, okay? We're talking big, huge, expensive jobs. You can make great money at it, but it's a different beast, y'all. It's a different beast. And I would tell you this, if you're reading or if you're watching this and you're worrying about getting into the restoration business, I would tell you to learn how to crack the residential nut before you try to crack the commercial one. It's just so much easier. It's much more expensive to be in the commercial world. It's harder to get started. It's easier to screw up and go bankrupt because you set a $20 million facility on fire. Like residential is just so much easier. I would encourage you to get your footing there first. But one of the big pros for commercial work, again, is pooling resources and landing commercial jobs. For that, I got to tip the cap to you. Another good reason to buy into a franchise is program work. But if you really want program work, like, I don't want program work. I swear to God, I don't. But some of you guys might. Some of you guys like to get in there and y'all don't like doing the in retail stuff and you want to do programs, more power to you. It is going to be easier to get on a program as part of a franchise than it will be on an independent, okay? That's just a fact. Some of these franchises will already have ends with Alacrity or Allstate or State Farm, whatever it might be. And so if you want program work, they might be able to get you in there. Let me tell you something. You don't want program work. You do not want program work, okay? I'm going to tell you this. I ain't never met a restoration contractor that could land retail work, especially from plumbers, and was doing program work at the same time. Like, it's either or, because it's really hard to do $3,000 and $4,000 jobs when you're landing $7,000 and $8,000 jobs. Okay, you don't see them do both. It's usually you do one or the other. If you're going to do program work, that's great. More power to you, but you're not going to be that retail contractor, okay? But if program work is your thing, don't do it. Then go and get in a franchise if that's what you're looking for. The next thing that's a pro among or a benefit of being in a franchise is the awareness, specifically with the insurance industry. Insurance agents and adjusters, they are much more familiar with franchise brands. You remember what I was saying earlier, the average person, Karen or Billy or Bobby, they didn't wake up knowing they were going to have a water damage that day. So they're not paying attention to water damage companies. But if you're in the insurance industry or you're an adjuster or an agent, then you have these guys, you'll just be more hypersensitive. The same way that when you buy a red Jeep, you suddenly see red Jeeps everywhere. These people in the insurance industry, they see these franchises over and over and over again. And the franchise is more likely to remain top of mind than the independent insurance agent. Okay, why? It's just brand awareness, okay? So if you're gonna be in the insurance world, you will have some more brand awareness that will come as part of being a franchise. Again, it ain't gonna relate to any more money necessarily, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Top of mind matters, and you'll be more likely to be top of mind whenever you're in a franchise. And plus, a lot of these companies spend a lot of money on television advertising. So here's another pro about franchises, and I had to spell this one: camaraderie. Try to spell that, by the way. I bet you can't spell camaraderie. Drop a comment. Tell me how you spell camaraderie. I didn't spell it right the first time. But I can tell you this, it is lonely, okay? Running an independent company, that's the best way to say it. It's lonely. Being self-employed, owning your own business, the higher you get as you climb the rungs of success, it's like being on a mountaintop. And the mountaintops, the bases, they all touch one another. And as you get higher and higher, these are pinnacles. And the owners are on each top, and it's lonely up there, okay? When you're in a franchise, you'll have a better chance to have a camaraderie network from other franchisees in other markets, and they're not competing with you. So, that is a thing. So, there's definitely some truth to being in that. You would probably feel more like you're in a family. But seriously, the camaraderie stuff, it's a real thing. So those are really good. Commercial work, program work, branding, awareness, and camaraderie. Those are the reasons why you might want to buy into a franchise. All right, now let's talk about the negatives. We've touched on a little bit about this. One of the reasons why you would not want to be in a franchise is the lower profit margin. And it's just this, like, you're going to be buying into a franchise. They're going to be squeezing stuff out of you for ongoing royalties, etc. And you're more likely going to be bound by pricing in certain cases. A lot of the franchises won't allow you to jump off xactimate or jump whatever that you wind up doing. And so you're going to be bound by the pricing. So once you take pricing, you limit that. And then you come in there and you take some of the royalties that are pulling off the top, especially if you're getting program work and royalties and you're limited by pricing, bro, you are getting kicked in the leg, okay? Program work is already too cheap. They're taking a royalty off of it, and you can't raise your prices. Dog, that is no way to live. That is no way to live. And that, my friend, is how you do $3,500 jobs week in, week out. Y'all are busy as hell, but you ain't got no money to show for it. And you want to know what? That's how you wind up making $120,000, $140,000 a year return to owner on $1 million. No thanks. So the second big negative for franchises is this: you pay all that money and you don't get the sales and marketing support. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's just a fact, it's reality. A lot of the franchises, they will offer some type of regional coach, all right? And he's probably fine, but I can tell you this. I've had franchisees buy into our program. They'll tell other franchisees at Puro Clean or Restoration One or Best Option, all the dudes. Like, it doesn't matter which one they say. I've got multiple guys coming to our programs on every single one. 1-800 water damage. And here's the deal. They all do some things well, and they all none of them got a plumber program like we do. Okay. We're just better at it. That's what we do. That's what we've done. I'm not trying to compete with them. Okay. But I'm just telling you, like, that is our jam. And if you want to do better at sales and marketing, specifically with plumbers, like, we will be able to help you there. Okay. You're not going to get that through their market. And partly because I think they have to be politically correct. A lot of these franchisors, they have to be professional. Me, I'm just a guy. I don't give a damn what you think, okay? I'm about as politically incorrect as it comes, but you're watching this video. I have no idea who you are. I don't know your name, and I hope you get value from it, but if you don't, that's fine. Like, take a hike. It's no big deal. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you what I think. Nothing's bound to me, okay? But conversely, if I was a franchisor, okay, I have to be professional and I have to do all of these things. I can't tell you certain things that I really believe. Whereas in my situation, I will tell you what I believe, okay? And regardless if you like it or not, just because it's my opinion, okay? So I try to be the Charles Barkley of the restoration industry. War Eagle, Charles. Let's go to negative number 3, the con number 3. When it comes to a franchise, this may not be a con, it could be a pro just the same way, but it's exiting the business. When you're gonna go sell your business, you're selling a territory. You can't just sell it to anybody. They have to buy the franchise to buy the business. And plain and simple, it's easier to sell it to anybody than nobody at all. Now, one of the ways that you could say it's easier is you might be able to get another franchisee to buy your territory. But either way, I feel like exiting the business is not as lucrative in my view, just because it's a smaller pool of buyers. Okay, so I think that would be considered negative. And if you disagree, that's completely fine. I understand that as well. And let me say this, I'm gonna time out real quick. There are some franchisees that do so incredibly well. I don't want it to sound like these guys are broke as a joke, but I would say the average one is probably pretty broke. But the ones that do well, dude, they kill it. They kill it, all right? And then the last one, last but not least, I would say the biggest reason or the biggest negative for buying into a franchise is simply the ongoing cost, okay? I mean, look, if you're paying, let's just keep the math easy. If you're paying 5% royalties, okay, on $1 million a year, what is that, $50,000 a year? And if you're in business for 10 years, that's $500,000 that you're paying in royalties, okay? And a lot of the stuff that they're gonna teach you, you're gonna figure out in the first 24 months anyway, and no value beyond that. And that's one of the reasons why I like the model that we do. My company, Restoration Profits, we help teach you guys launch your business, get it started, and you pay us for the first 4 months, 6 months, a year, or a year and a half. Like, let us help you get the business up and running, and then you don't have to pay us no more ever again, right? Franchises don't do it that way. Once you buy in, you're going to pay that royalty ongoing forever. And I just think that's really, really expensive. If you want to do it, that's fine, but just hear me out before you do this. I would invite you guys, if you're thinking about buying a franchise, like, come talk to me and my team. We've got a 30-day launch program, and I've had several franchises come through as they open the door, okay? And in their first 30 days, they came through our 30-day launch program, and some of them did $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in their first 30 days. And meanwhile, some of the other guys in similar markets did $5,000 to $10,000. Why? We teach you to do stuff that they don't teach you to do. Plain and simple. Just plain and simple, okay? And we would love to be able to help you out. We can get you launched, and then we can grow and scale it beyond that, all right? So hopefully that's helpful. No, one other thing I forgot to tell you. What would I do if I was starting all over? What would I do if I was starting all over? Probably the same thing I did the first time, which is just go independent, okay? I would invite you to go independent in the beginning, try it out, and if you don't like it, then you can buy into the franchise, okay? Franchises are easier to get in than they are to get out of. It's just like a marriage. You should try to do it on your own first, and if you can't, then go back and buy into that thing, okay? That's the best advice that I can give you. And if you want us to help you launch your company in the first 30 days, just go to workwithshane.com, and we can hop on a call and talk all about it. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, comments, drop it down below. We'll see you in the next video. If you guys enjoyed that video, I've got 3 things for you. First off, there's a couple of other videos somewhere on the screen. You can click those now to go watch more content about growing your restoration company. Number 2, if you haven't already subscribed, click my face below and that will subscribe you to the channel. And finally, if you would like for me to help you grow your restoration company, go to workwithshane.com, put in your information, and let's get on a 15-minute call. We'll see you then.